there are many people who report that they have glimpses of being, of awareness, that they come to this appreciation of the completeness, wholeness, and peace of being itself. But then, strangely, they find themselves caught up again in neurotic thoughts. They feel themselves to be an anxious, separate part again. So, what can be done to remedy this condition so that the appreciation of being is not just felt to be a fleeting state, but that it actually is the natural state, and it is what we are living out of constantly, permanently. So in order to reveal this possibility of living from being, we're just going to follow a few simple steps, and I will guide you through them and go along with you. So first of all, we can just familiarize with that anxious part that says, I can't deal with this. This is too much. I'm overwhelmed. I can't cope with all of this. Such thoughts, or others that are similar, often arise along with identification with this particular anxious, managing part. So there's a foundation of insecurity, we could say, in identifying with that part. So let us familiarize, first of all, with how that part is appearing in our experience. Now, when I say part, I'm not actually saying that there is something concretely and definitively existing, some kind of entity which is within the body-mind. When I say part, I'm referring to a specific pattern, a constellation of feelings and thoughts that nevertheless is very distinct. So when I say anxious part, how does that manifest in your experience? You might know what it's like to live out of fear, to think out of fear, act out of fear. Where does that manifest in your body-mind? Very often people report that they feel this part in particular in their chest, upper torso area, maybe even in their jaw, throat. If that's the case right now, just familiarize with that. If the level of anxiety is very low right now, just familiarize with the sort of remnants of that part, where that pattern usually shows up. So we're just sitting with it, no agenda, nothing to do with it, just curious about how this is presenting itself. You can close your eyes if you want to, but you don't need to. Now simply feel the boundaries of that pattern of experience. Where does it start? Where does it stop? How is it moment to moment? Now, as we are getting familiar and simply feeling this energy, just have a bit of a sense of opening up and relaxing to the space around that pattern. What does this pattern fade into in your immediate experience? Just feeling the direct presence of it. Just connecting with the openness around that pattern of energy. So we're not over fixated on that part. Just spacious, open, relaxed all around it. Now if you notice that this pattern seems to get more intense as you're giving it space, then maybe step off the gas a little bit, meaning you don't have to create so much space, just a bit is enough, and just resting in natural intimacy with that energy. As we are resting here, just notice very lightly and curiously that this pattern of energy is being held effortlessly. The openness which is revealing this flow of sensations does not need to be created or maintained. It's naturally here. We could say it is not changing, nor is it staying in some kind of detached witnessing position. This awareness which is receiving the sensation right now is simply here, present and whole. Just allow yourself to appreciate this, even if it's just in a very light way. That's enough. Not fixating on the qualities of being, but just resting easily, effortlessly, natural. And through that natural resting, appreciating this awareness that is here. Now, resting here, we ask the question, what relationship does this awake openness, this natural awareness, have to that pattern? Just noticing that, in fact, we don't find a dividing line, any kind of separation between awareness itself and that flow of sensations. Again, it is just included in a very, very uncontrived and simple way. So as we are resting here, notice that this pattern, which we previously called anxiety, is actually just aliveness appearing. When we don't label it as anxiety, it is just that flow of sensation. Just feel that energy of that pattern softening, moving, and shifting throughout the body. So instead of having it contracted in the upper torso, we are instead allowing that energy to move and flow into our limbs, feeling it in your fingers, feeling it move through our legs. So every part of the body is filled with this even field of aliveness. Now allow yourself to move your arms. You can stretch your legs and just have this very simple sense that awareness is clearly open and present, and the aliveness of the body is moving in and as that awareness. Feel how there's this sense of intentionality, full involvement with the embodiment, but that involvement is not happening from a fixed, solid part. That intentionality and involvement is now happening from this awake openness. Just feel how that is different. And just allow it to become very natural. Nothing to be maintained. Being itself is present, awake, here, and already fully embodied. And again, dropping any attempt to maintain this. And just feeling the naturalness of this. Notice right now that the entire functioning of the body-mind is fully present here. Words can be said, words are understood, the world is seen, the body is felt. Everything we need to live is here and given. It doesn't need to be managed. So earlier we spoke about that sense of encountering the world from that contracted, anxious point of view. But how is it right now to encounter the world from being itself? Working from this, the natural state, we are as well equipped to deal with any kind of life situation as we ever could be. So from here on out, all it takes is a little bit of, we could say, commitment and trust that living from this actually, for lack of a better word, works. That this is possible and truly delivers the fulfillment, peace, joy, and depth of life we always wanted. If this sounds like too much of a strong claim, don't worry about it. Just start where it's very simple. So you're getting up, you're doing it from being. You're washing your hands, you're doing it from being. You're having a conversation with a friend, you're doing it from being. And just familiarizing with how it is to have this as our operating system. And more the possibility will reveal itself that all situations can be encountered and lived from being, and that all situations can be resolved from this place much more wisely and efficiently than they ever could be by contracting into a part. So very soon that initial commitment just becomes an obvious choice. Why not? Why would we ever not enjoy and live from this, when this is a possibility? So that anxious pattern now is working in the service of being as aliveness. It's not that this pattern was inherently bad or wrong. It was just over-fixated and frozen, felt to be stuck. But from being, it is the very aliveness through which we embody and interact. So that aliveness, we could say, feels well taken care of in being itself. And for that reason, the temptation, the pull into anxiety, will be felt gradually much less strongly. Because it becomes obvious that this is safe and complete. That there is no need to contract and spring into action. That everything that needs doing can be done from here. If we re-identify, contract again, it's likely to happen. Then we just lightly notice that, familiarize again with being, see that it's naturally inclusive, connect with the aliveness, and embody being from here. And very quickly, because this is so rewarding in of itself, it becomes the new default. And anxieties, and in particular the fixation on anxiety, gradually dies down. Just give it some time, because this kind of embodiment is not something that happens overnight. The change can be quite dramatic sometimes, but don't bring too much of an expectation in this. Just appreciate what's here right now and learn to live from that. And surely you will not be disappointed.